Good afternoon, Hattiesburg. Thanks for joining us for this Tuesday afternoon briefing for August 4th. Today we'll go through today's numbers. These are all of our healthcare organizations: Hattiesburg Clinic, Forest General, Merit Health Wesley, Semri, and the Moffitt Health Center at USM. Thus far, we've had 40,572 tests that have been conducted. Positives are 4647. Of course, those are not all in Forest and Lamar counties, and they're not all current cases. 34,806 have come back negative. We have 1,113 tests which are pending right now. Hospitalizations, some hopeful news here. We'll have to see how it kind of plays out the rest of this week. But right now, 77 patients in the hospital with COVID. That's 7 under the average for the last 14 days. That's between our two hospitals. We have another 24 under investigation. Of course, right now we're seeing around 15% of those pending tests come back positive, so that number is likely a little bit higher, but still 7 under the average for the last 2 weeks. That's a promising sign. We have 34 patients in the ICU right now. That's 1.5 under the last 14 days. We have 1 patient in the ICU under investigation right now. This is kind of how hospitalizations and ICU admissions have laid out since the beginning of April. Of course, we saw a spike about a week ago. We got over 90 hospitalizations, but again, too early to say it's a trend because I know we'll have to see how the week plays out. But to get hospitalizations under 80, that's a good sign. It's welcome news. Still, a lot of struggles out there, such as the next one. Over the weekend, since our last briefing, Forest County has reported 3 new deaths to take its total to 55. Lamar County has reported 1 new death today to take its total to 13. That's 68 in the metro area. And the one thing that I've pushed out to people who are asking in terms of how serious this is, we've had 10 deaths in the last 7 days. So it continues to be a serious problem that we need to pay attention to and act on. New positive cases. These are cases for today. Forest County had 13. Lamar County had 25. Over the weekend, Forest County's biggest day was 51. Then we went 16 on Sunday, 9 on Monday. That's typically the case because a lot of labs aren't reporting those numbers in on Saturday and Sunday. But 13 on a Tuesday, that's welcome news as well. Lamar County over the weekend had 25 on Saturday, 10 on Sunday, 6 yesterday, and an additional 25 today, so today's total of new positive cases is 38. The 5-day total, well, the totals right now, 1653 for Forest County, 1146 for Lamar County. The 5-day average is where we take the number of new positive cases today and we average it the 2 days prior and the 2 days after. And again, we're coming out of a weekend. Typically this happens when you go into a Monday and Tuesday. We're seeing the Forest County numbers still incredibly high, and Lamar County number really high too, but to see them come down just a little bit over the past 5 days, that's welcome news, especially considering Forest County's 51 number on Saturday. The inside 14-day mark, typically COVID-19, unless there is an adverse reaction, has a life cycle of 14 days or fewer. And so the inside 14-day number, this is the number of people who have had a positive test reported back within the last 14 days. And so that gives you a rough idea on how many active cases you may have in your community right now. In Forest County, that number peaked on Saturday. It got up to 475, but since then it's come down to 421. In Lamar County, their number peaked last Thursday at 394. They're down to 313 now. So seeing how this lays out over the past few months, potentially some good signs there. Again, these testing numbers typically dip after coming out of a weekend because there's not as much reported on Saturdays and Sundays. However, we'd love to see that become a trend, and we'd love to see that number go down. So right now, total in the metro area, 734 after a peak last Saturday of 820. Today, statewide, 1,074 new cases were reported, 42 new deaths. Again, one of those was in Lamar County. Continue our goals, protecting vulnerable populations, people over the age of 60, people with underlying or chronic health conditions. These are the folks, if they get COVID-19, they're more likely to have an adverse reaction, which affects the second goal, is trying to prevent overrun of our healthcare system by slowing the spread. If we can't accomplish goal number 1, typically we can't accomplish goal number 2, because those are the folks who will end up in the hospitals and in the ICU or worse. And then we're going to continue prioritizing public health while giving the private sector the space it needs to operate creatively. We continue to make widespread availability of testing between both our hospitals and their clinics, as well as some private partners, and our C.E. Roy Community Center is still open. Continue to push the wearing of masks. watching our own data and listening to all voices. One of those voices, of course, is Governor Reeves. Today, he went in his update. He did issue a statewide mask mandate for public gatherings. Of course, Hattiesburg has been under that for several months, as well as Forest County and Lamar County went under that about a couple weeks ago as well. Our executive orders locally run until August 17th. However, I think it goes without saying that I think people really need to get used to the idea of masks for the foreseeable future. He also hit on schools. I know this has been one thing that people have been waiting on in terms of him making a decision on whether to intervene or not. He did do that today. He did issue a mask mandate for all adults and students that are going to schools. He also delayed in-person classes from 7th to 12th grade for hotspot areas. There were 8 counties mentioned. One of those, of course, was Forest County, so that affects Hattiesburg Public Schools, Petal Public Schools, Forest County Public Schools, Forest County AHS. Our school district, and I just got off the phone with Dr. Williams, they're wrestling through what this means, not only for grades 7 through 12, but also pre-K through 6. We will be on a briefing call with all of our stakeholders, as we have done weekly since March, with all of our public schools in the area, as well as PCS and Sacred Heart. And so once we have that information on what they're going to do, given the governor's order, if they're going to wait 2 weeks, wait longer, we'll make sure that we include that in tomorrow's briefing. Some city news. We found out today, the word came down that the Census Bureau is not going to extend the deadline for people to report their census information. And this is especially concerning for a city like Hattiesburg, who 10 years ago had a really bad count. Take into account this year, we have not had canvassers because of COVID concerns. And given our census outreach protocol that we really prepared for, depended a lot on events, depended on a lot of in-person gatherings, we haven't been able to do that. And even though our self-response rate is higher than it was 10 years ago, we still have a ways to go. We're in the low 50% right now. And for a city like Hattiesburg, that's concerning because the money that's at stake, whether it's infrastructure or public health, like situations like now, or road dollars, public safety dollars, we need you to fill out your census form if you haven't already. It takes less than 10 minutes. You can go to hattiesburgcounts.com, click the first link. It will take you there. We need to get our numbers up, particularly now that we know that in less than 2 months the count's going to shut off, and we'll see how it goes. But we have our fate is in our own hands, and we can do this and take ownership of it and deliver a good count despite the circumstances. The other bit of city news I want to report is our paving crews have moved over to North Street. North Street has been well over 10 years since this road has been paved. This connects West 4th Street to West 7th Street, and so I know the areas around this area, the residents around this area are excited to see this project completed, and we'll be glad to share more information with paving projects in the coming days. And finally, our act of courage. Of course, we're in the middle of our Mask Up Hattiesburg campaign. We want to thank Visit Hattiesburg for partnering on some yard signs, getting them out to hotels, as well as the Hattiesburg Zoo. The people that interact with our visitors, they're so important in spreading that message of wear a mask and requiring the public as well as requiring their staff to wear them. This is how we are known as a safe destination when everyone wears a mask. And so to our hotel partners in the zoo and Visit Hattiesburg, we say thank you for spreading this message. And as we go into the rest of the week, remember to wash your hands, take care of yourself, wear a mask. If you go out in public, do only what is essential. And remember, especially right now, you are safer at home. Have a great day.